So this video is my video that's kind of a follow-up to Shabo Outdoors, throwing out the idea of top 6 barter items. I do personally believe that, especially in the outdoors community, that bartering is the new economy, and I think it's been that way actually since the ammunition scare several years ago. I know it worked for me, it works for a lot of people. I love bartering, so let's get right into it. These aren't necessarily my top 6 things that I'd barter, but I think these are 6 things that could be overlooked that are perfect barter items that I know that I've used in the past. I want to focus in this video on things that you may already have laying around your house, you may already have access to. The last thing you want to do is stockpile a bunch of stuff and then just plan to barter that stuff. Sometimes we don't get to choose when a disaster strikes, so I'm going to focus on the things that you might already have on hand. So with that being said, let's get started. I'm going to follow up directly with what Shabo Outdoors said. Spices. Spices are a fantastic barter item, especially in a survival scenario, because like he was saying, you can change a meal and have several different meals off of the same base substance like rice or some type of oats or something like that, just simply by adding different types of spices. So spices, going to go ahead and get that out of the way first because that was already mentioned by Shabo Outdoors. Let's keep going. Another thing I think that people overlook is blankets. Blankets, tarps in a survival situation are a perfect barter item. If you can increase somebody's level of comfort, they will trade a lot of things for that. So blankets and tarps, I think great items to barter if you can spare them. Following up on blankets, clothing. You've got a lot of this laying around the house already, I'm sure about it. Tactical clothing, such as these 511s, old camouflage gear, whatever it may be. Again, people don't get to choose what they're wearing when a disaster scenario strikes. If somebody gets caught on their way to or from work and they're a business person, but they're, somebody who has a lot of skills, but they just weren't prepared that particular day, and they're in a suit and tie, I guarantee they'll trade off for a pair of tactical pants, maybe a pair of blue jeans, a pair of old camis, something like that. I think clothing is a highly overlooked barter item. I've actually traded tactical pants similar to this that were in the tan color several years back for ammunition. I didn't fit in the pants anymore, but I needed the ammunition, and that person was willing to trade. Worked out great for both of us. Next up, tools. Now, a lot of people might suggest that tools are going to be a dime a dozen in a true survival scenario, but you know what? You can go looking for them, hunting them down, or you might be able to trade for an entire set, something like a little socket set like this, something like some hammers, wrenches, something you're going to need. Yeah, in a survival situation, I can drive a nail into a board with a rock. It's a lot easier with a hammer though. So tools, I think, are an overlooked item when it comes to bartering in a survival situation. Next up, traps. Something like this. Little conibear, this little 110, 220. Again, something you might already have on hand, something that a lot of people are overlooking. Now, you're going to hear a lot of survival channels out there talk about how you can snare animals, with a shoestring and a wire or something like that. That's bullshit. If you've never trapped before, you're not trapping anything with a shoestring, and you're probably not even going to trap anything with a factory-made snare unless you have practiced with it, you have scouted the area, and you know exactly what you are doing. Using a snare in a survival situation, using a snare to trap an animal is a very complicated task. Nowhere near as easy as a lot of these fools would make you think it is. So something like this, a little 110 conibear, a little 220 conibear, something like that, that you can slip over a den. These things are foolproof, absolutely foolproof. And what I mean by that is any fool can catch an animal with a conibear trap. Again, you might have a couple laying around. Great barter item. You're going to feed your family with this. Last but not least, what I want to touch on are skills. Now, Shabo Outdoors talked about this briefly, if I'm not mistaken, and I think skills is a highly underrated barter item. Like he said, for example, somebody might know how to go out and shoot an animal, but they might not know how to clean or prepare that animal for dinner. Now, in a survival situation, in a barter situation, you may be able to use that skill to your advantage and say, hey, you go out and trap, you go out and hunt down the animal, you spend that whole day working on that, you bring it back, I'll prep it out for you, finish it off, whatever, but I get a portion of the meat. That's a perfect barter in a survival situation. So anyhow, I wanted to keep this short and sweet because, well, I didn't want to make a really long video. So anyhow, that's it. Those are my 6, maybe not top barter items in a survival situation, but they are 6 items that are highly overlooked in a survival situation. That's it. Thanks to Angry Canuck for turning me on to Shabo Outdoors, who was originally the one who put this question out there to begin with, if I'm not mistaken. So with all that being said, I'm HNX Media, and with any luck, I'll see you on the next video.